Well, hello everybody. I hope you're doing well. We're a little chilly here in Florida, but then again, we are very spoiled compared to other states in the nation. Today, we're going to talk about the role of escrow in real estate, why it matters more than you think. When people buy or sell real estate or any property, they usually focus on the big things, right? The price, the inspection, the final closing day that everybody's so excited about. But there is one part of the process that a lot of people don't fully understand, and that is escrow. So let's talk about it. Escrow is one of those things that quietly does a lot, if not all, the heavy lifting in a real estate transaction. So today we're going to break it down in terms of what escrow is, why it matters, and why it's way more important than most people think. So let's get started. The next big question is, what is escrow? So let's start at the beginning and defining it. Escrow is a neutral third-party process that holds the money, the funds, in a real estate transaction, but a lot more than that. It holds the documentations, the instructions, and everything that relates to a real estate transaction. Nothing gets released until all agreed upon conditions are met. So somebody would say, so is escrow one of those things that ensures that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do? And I would say yes, that's exactly right. It protects both the buyer and the seller. It's the checks and balances of what takes place in a real estate transaction. Now let's say, why does escrow hold the money in a real estate transaction? This is one question that buyers ask from time to time. Why doesn't my earnest money or my deposit just goes directly into the seller's account? Well, the answer is because if you were to do that, that is exponentially risky. When a buyer puts down earnest money or deposit, it goes directly into an independent escrow account. That literally shows the seller that the buyer is serious in the real estate transaction. But even more important, it protects you, the buyer, if the deal was to fall apart for any valid reason. So it kind of works like a referee. It keeps things in balance and checked and fair from beginning to the end. That's kind of a simple way to explain escrow. Let's talk about, how does escrow protect both sides? Both sides meaning the buyer and the lender. Well, how does escrow actually protect both parties? Well, for the buyer, escrow ensures that their money isn't just released until they've met every single condition, like the inspections have passed, the financing, any past dues, any issues with the HOA, and much, much more. And for the seller, it basically ensures that they don't just hand over an ownership of a property without having received payment. So basically, in the real estate transaction, nobody's taking a leap of faith. Everything that is done, it happens in the right order, for the right reasons, with the right checks and balances. Now let's talk about, what does escrow handle behind the scenes? Okay, a lot of people think that escrow just holds the money, the funds, in a real estate transaction. Well, but what else does it really handle? I can tell you there's a lot more than people realize. Escrow, among many things, manages timelines, tracks contingency, coordinates the massive paperwork involved in a real estate transaction. It literally ensures that all the requirements are met and satisfied by all parties before anyone gets to the closing table. So the next question is, what happens if something is missing or delayed? Well, that's exactly what escrow is there to do, to catch those things in advance. That's how problems get resolved before they turn into a closing day nightmare, which we don't want anything to do with that. That's the purpose of having an escrow account, so everything is free and clear and everybody's happy and at peace of mind and people get paid on time. Let's talk about, can escrow delay a real estate closing? Okay. People sometimes worry that escrow can slow things down. But is that really true? Well, escrow by itself does not cause delays. What it does, and that's the purpose, it uncovers issues that are pre-existing with the existing title. If something like a document that is missing or a condition that hasn't been met, escrow is there to bring it to the surface so it could be fixed in advance. That's the purpose. So it's better to know all these things sooner than later, right? So escrow is there to prevent any last minute chaos in the process of a real estate transaction. One thing that I know for a fact that is speed is good, but never in lieu of quality. Very important. Why does escrow matter so much in today's market? Another way to ask would be, why is escrow specifically important in today's real estate market? Well, the simple answer to that is because real estate deals move very fast, faster than you think. And in those transactions, large sums of money are changing hands very quickly. And without escrow, the checks and balances in the process, buyers and sellers will be taking a huge risk. So that's where escrow brings the structure, the accountability, the trust, and the checks and balances that are required to prevent major issues. For buyers, it's protection. And for sellers, it's certainty. And that's what we want in a real estate transaction. That level of certainty, that level of security in checks and balance, so everything goes well from beginning to end. Other questions that we get to deal from time to time is escrow required in real estate transactions? Well, in most cases, yes, especially when there is a lender involved. They'll definitely require that. So escrow ensures that everything is handled properly and legally before any ownership transfers to a new buyer. That's what it's there to do. So to conclude this session and sum it all up, what would you say escrow really is? Well, in a nutshell, escrow is the trust bridge of a real estate transaction. It really is what allows the buyers and the sellers to move forward in the process of real estate transactions with confidence and a peace of mind. That's the ultimate goal for the buyers, for the sellers, for the realtors, for the attorneys, and everybody involved, the lenders. And I will tell you that if anybody here is looking to buy or sell a home and need some guidance, we highly recommend to work with experienced and trustworthy players in the industry of title, escrow, realty. It makes a big difference in one of the biggest real estate investments most people will ever make. If you like this session, we would appreciate subscribing, pressing like, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.